So I take it from the biblical teaching on marriage. That's where I derive most of my value in marriage, and I think that the way that it's outlined in especially the book of Ephesians is is the role in which people were designed to live in. Right?
Tell me about it. I've written several books on the topic.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that the ceremonial head of the house is defined as the husband. And then people get really hung up on this, right? Because they're like, oh, the man's the head of the house, and they get these controlling whatever vibes and this, and they treat it as if he's ruling the house with an iron scepter. And if you actually read what's in the passage, it talks about how the leaders are to serve their wives, to love their wives. And if you look at the commandment, it has everything to do with love and service and nothing to do with this iron scepter approach. So I think there's a lot of misconception out there about how Christians view marriage. And to be fair, there's a lot of misrepresentation by Christians on how marriage is to be sustained and how marriage is to be enacted. And
may I elaborate on that passage?
Absolutely.
It says in Ephesians, love your wife as Jesus, loved the church and gave himself up for her.
Yeah, love it as your own body.
Sacrifice.
Yeah.
So total sacrificial stuff like you were talking about.
Absolutely.
He gave himself up for his wife, which is the church, which is the other Christian believers and followers.
He performed the ultimate sacrifice.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's how you are supposed to love your wife, ultimately sacrificial, right?
Of course.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And what is she supposed to do based on this?
Well, it says for wives to respect and submit to their husbands. That's what it says.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people hear that and have a problem with it. And the examples that I've seen where a biblical marriage is implemented, both parties have been significantly happier than marriages that do not thrive on biblical principles. So,
okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So along with what you're saying, it would seem that feminism is antithetical to what you're talking about right now. It talks about nothing about submission. That sounds like control and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
To them, but
it's a labeling system where they try to undermine Christian values.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
it's pretty easy to submit to your husband loving you, right? Like,
absolutely.
That seems like a pretty great message.
Yeah, pretty easy one.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what it is. I think it's comfortableness, being able to submit to somebody who takes full-on stress and responsibility. The same way, as you're saying, like Jesus died on the cross to take all of our sins, right? And, wash them away from us with his blood. And the same way that a man is supposed to take on all the stress of the world, the job, the workforce, things like that, so that a woman doesn't have to actually take those stresses on. So that's one way that a man can be like Jesus, like it says in Ephesians. You can be the one who's out there battling the world, battling all the stresses, bringing home the bacon and all those things,